Hello, everybody. I'm Maya Trochimczyk, and I'm going to be hosting this village poet reading, which is done in collaboration with Moonrise Press. It's a beautiful little card from Moonrise Press that was designed by local artist Abby Diamond, and she gave me this card with the moon rising over our hills. So that's Moonrise Press, and we're very thrilled today to present a book prepared jointly by two friends who are here with us. Cindy O'Brien, who is artist and poet, and
Toti O'Brien. She really fused us together. I loved it.
They are one.
Not anything to drink.
I haven't.
What are you guys doing there?
Just laughing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I fuse that because what I'm thinking that you're both artists and we are both poets. Only for this book you split the roles, so one of you just acts as a poet and one of you just acts as an artist. And so this is Toti O'Brien and Cindy Rinne, and this is the cover of a book with a beautiful artwork. And the book has beautiful color illustrations, and we'll see them in the slides. So when we get to the book, it's not very long. I hope you'll be just reading the book all the way straight through from the beginning to the end, with Cindy reading the poems and Toti talking about the artwork that was selected. And but before we get to this part of the program, I think it'd be nice to have some open mics. So here we are. And let's see, who would like to start the first open mic? Let's just start from Elsa, because she's just sitting right there and I won't make any mistakes. Okay.
How many? How long is
Two poems.
2 poems.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I promised, not really promised, but I told Toti I would translate one of hers into Russian. So I did. But yeah. I hope, my Russian, I haven't been using it that much, but I'll try, okay? And I chose this poem, Toti. It's titled Puzzle, from your book, Other Maidens, because I know how you use your hands, and you sew and you put all this together, and it spoke to me because of that. Okay, I'll read it first in English. Puzzle. With green pliers and the surgical gaze of a nurse, I'm the fairy of mending, since Grace kissed me with a gift of hands, healthy and sound. My meticulous eyes inching slowly along miniature steps, I line up these rare, precious, fragile, these invisible things. And this is from your book, Other Maidens. And here goes the Russian, which I'm happy I did for myself, because I've been, as an exercise, and I've, with all this time we've been going through, it's a way of going out there. The thing, I don't know if you could see the words Russian, the words are really long. Russian has long words because it has the root, and then the main word, and then the suffix, so as a short word. For example, pliers in English, in Russian is plosko gubtsami, which is long. Okay, puzzle. Golo balomka. Зелеными плоско губцами и с хирургическим взглядом медсестры. Я фея исправления. С тех пор, как благодать поцеловала меня с подарком здоровых рук. Мои татогинные глаза, медленно двигаясь по миниатюрным ступеням, я выстраиваю эти редкие, драгоценные, хрупкие, эти невидимые вещи.
Wow. I understood a couple words.
Yeah,
I
I
said
did.
in Polish.
Yeah, that was a work.
Drogocenny, for instance, very precious.
Yes,
Drogocenny, it's both.
That was a workout
yeah.
for my mouth. I worked my mouth
Wow,
out.
thank you.
Okay, and
Okay, one more of yours.
Okay. Let's see.
Thanks, Elsa.
You're welcome, Dorothy. Even if it's short, only one. Yeah.
You can do two if you have short,
Okay.
yeah.
And this one is because my younger son, Ivan, I told him years ago about writing a poem, and he says, well, why don't you say it this way instead? You know, just not in a very poetic way. Just say it, because he's not a poet, so just say it. Yeah. This is it then. Night and all its subjects, moon and palm trees, forever in the dark blue of the sky, and stars, stars to punctuate the length of being. Voice repeats. So this is it then. Night opens deeper, closes into itself. Sleep unspelled into an anagram of missing letters. Ivan's voice echoing. You could have just said, look at the night sky. And last one. When you read the poem, when you read me, the poem, it was different. The words other, what they said, but it was the same. It must have been your voice that changed its breath, wrote it again. When you said, I like it, listen, the poem opened again, the same as before, surprised to be different in your voice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice. So I think it'll make my life easier if I now ask Alice Sparrow, who is sitting on my other side, to read her poems. And after Alice, we will have our two features.
Okay, this is from my unpublished manuscript, shadow carving. But that isn't published. I haven't sent it anywhere yet. Fuel. When the wick is low, I'm going to start over again.
Okay.
When the wick is faint, the fuel low, people too cool begin to duel. They could stay hot in beds, could warm themselves with poems, send themselves through the air without oil or tools. Having to fill and refill, we live for our vehicles, have no energy of our own. It's so nice to see somebody. You guys, we have to get back to live. Sorry. Okay.
Real
Agree
person.
with you, Alice. I totally agree with you.
A real person.
Okay. The day I made love to time. The day I made love to time. The sun was stunned. The earth stood in ecstatic green and blue. The wind had nothing to do. The day time and I were clutched in immortal embrace. There was no day or night. The daylilies could only wait to open their blooms. Weather was either or. Birds in midair went still. The daytime and I conceived in joy. Trees were leafless while full of leaves. Coyotes stopped in frozen howl. Doorbells forgot to ring. The moment time and I were one, children were remarkably unconcerned. The world arrested in an endless smile, all not knowing yet knowing, time becoming my own sweet will, and my will immune to time.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we had a lovely beginning, and now I would like to introduce all of you to somebody that you already know in our book that we're presenting today, Today in a Forest, poetry by Cindy Rinne, images by Toti O'Brien. Thank you for putting it on the screen. Thank you very much. Cindy creates fiber art and writes in San Bernardino. She is the author of several books. Can you hear the howling?
Yes.
Silence Between Drum Beats, Letters on the Rock, and others. Her poetry appeared is forthcoming in Anti-Heroin Chick, Verse Virtual, Liter Grimm, and other journal, and in many anthologies. She has a website, fiberverse.com, so you have the information about this book also on her website. Toti O'Brien's mixed media have been exhibited in group and solo shows in Europe and the US since '95. She has illustrated several children's books and 2 memoirs. Her artwork is on the cover of several books, and it was most recently featured in the following journals: Petticore, Two Hawks, Arcana, and Ergo. More about her work can be found on her website at totihan.net. So here we have the brief introduction to our lovely authors, and now I'll give the mic to Cindy, and I guess the screen will be managed by Toti because she will be reading the thing. Is everything okay, Cindy's?
No, hold on a
No?
moment. I had it and then I lost it. But
Oh,
my husband is a miracle worker, and now we have it
all
again.
right. Very good. Okay. So
Thank
what
you.
I'll do, we have 25 people in attendance, which is lovely. I'm going to, oh, we have all these things. Wait. Hmm?
No, I
Yeah,
was just wondering like who is seen on the screen.
I don't know who is in the screen.
Yeah.
I'm going
Here,
to,
I can do that.
Are we ready to start?
Mhm.
Good. Well, Toti, you're up first.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say thank you again to Moonrise, to Maya, for printing out something in full colors, plenty of illustration. How lucky were we? We are really lucky. And then thank you to Village Poets, to the group of 5, for giving us a reading on March 21st, equinox. Perfect. So today in the forest, there is a party, and we are in the party. Uh, the thing that I want to say, just one in the beginning, is to make it very clear what happened with those texts and those images. They weren't made for one another. The poems that Cindy made weren't acrostics at all. They weren't responsive to my images. And my images weren't illustrating Cindy's poem. We're gonna say more about that, maybe a tiny bit more in the end. But essentially, what I wanna say is that there was some work that existed here and some other work that existed there, and we just let them melt. So after Cindy will read her poetry, when I will say small things about the images, that will be about just talking about the art per se, as it existed on its own, not really in response to the poem. That's all what I wanted to make clear before we started. Cindy, take it away.
Okay, well, I found out today is World Poetry Day also. So we've got a lot going for us today. And I want to thank everyone for coming. So I am in the middle of years of writing a hybrid fairy tale. And so there's poetry and fiction. And so these are some of the poems. Today we're actually just going to do part 1. There are 2 parts in the book, but we leave a little bit of mystery for you. And the poems here will introduce you into this fairy tale world that I've created. Part 1, Moon Goddess. This is an introduction. Anna Heat speaks today in the forest. I wear a golden crown and adore rushing streams as keeper of the waters. One aspen leaf speaks kind words to my horses. Its branch intersects another on a sky chart over Venus. Time to ride my chariot to observe plants adjusting to the hot, thick atmosphere on a planet whose long rotation swirls in the opposite direction. I glide the jet streams. My wetness resists burning to visit a cosmic garden. Greetings, my children.
So this image here she's the keeper of the water. It's a sculpture that is called River, and she belongs to a series of 3. And they are reclined figures. They are female, but they are also a bit androgynous. When I worked, I wanted that more than one gender. And those figures are pretty large, and all they have something sprouting out of their bodies. River, she has trees sprouting out of her bodies, and maybe they are aspen trees. I'm not so sure. The thing that sprout out, they're separated, but they are also into the body with metal rods that are strong, but they're also flexible. So they are one piece that it moves and it makes a tiny bit of sound. And the clay that I use for those figures is either Black Mountain or Jamaica. I don't recall. They're very, very similar, and I love them for one reason. I love them because when they are eye-fired, very high temperature, they look like bronze. It's almost impossible to tell the difference. They have that sound, and they have that grain and that compact strength. So it's earth, but it's metal too. Take it away, Cindy.
Presence, absence. Wolf people originated near lakes, body of a wolf with a human face. Candlelight and stars greeted them each night. Reflections of golden aspen revealed day. Moon goddess Anahit appeared and said, elk are eating the aspen bark. Unknown disease enters exposed places. My trees are dying. The candle people will be next. They must have a canopy of leaves. How can we help? The wolf people asked. Select one candle man to survive. I will instill a lightning bolt within Black Bear to generate a candle woman in the future. She continued, one day you will walk on 2 legs with wolf spirit inside. Remember your language. So let's meet the horses. Anahit's horses. Some days, wine color stallion calms down and speaks of running wild. Some days, roan filly is a quiet mist. Plants, birds, and trees rest. Some days, sunset coral mustang converses with the sun about the day. And some days, silver ice protects the animals before winter's thaw.
So this girl belongs to a series I did many years ago that is just called Girls on Horses. It's perfect for the coral mustang. When I do a series of pieces on a theme, there is usually just one that sort of skids out of the row. And when it's finished and I look at it, I see something that I wanted without knowing that was what I wanted. So it's strange. You do the series and you put the same intent in each piece, but there is only one that is that. And in this case, that was it. I don't know why I liked it so much. I think it was because of the actor. She reminded me a little bit of the equestrian acrobats that can stand on a horse. I always admired that. This is a kind of whitish earth, and the real color is like a granite gray. And the way I connected it with Cindy and her poem is because she is conversing with the sun. There is just a space in there for the sun to come down and converse. That's it.
I have to say that it was always thrilling to see the art pieces and what Toti put together. So there was some response between us with the text.
Here's the image. Do we want to read the poem first, Cindy? Cindy? Do you want to read the
Okay,
poem?
sure. Do the dandelions on Venus still smell the scent of pines? Contain blue sky, full moon in their hollow stems? I think some people need to mute their mics because we're getting feedback,
Yeah.
like conversations. And I can see that some people aren't muted. It would really help. So I'm going to read the poem again because it was breaking up for me. It still is. I don't know if Maya can mute everybody. It would really help the reading. Okay. Do the dandelions on Venus still smell the scent of pines? Contain blue sky, full moon in their hollow stems?
Okay. So actually I put the entire poem in there. These pieces, I made a lot of those for the plain reason that people wanted them, so I could sell them. Originally, I called these pieces Mother Earth because the first I did, she was like that, a sitting female figure she had a nest on her lap. And I put it on a piece of wood and it sort of came out and it was Mother Earth. And I made a bunch of those. Then when I came back and restarted on the same idea, I called them arborea, which is, I suppose, an invented word for a creature, a spirit of the tree, belongs to the tree. And I did that because the part of wood became more important for me. So the wood is worked a lot, but with minimal vision. And the creature is connected with the wood. Everything is connected with inside metal, inside roads. So it's fragile and it moves and it makes sound, but it's connected. And those the creatures of the tree, are also a little bit watery. You see, this one, she's called Ophelia, and she has a lot of shells. She has a bra made of shells. She had shells at her ear. The bandana is leather. Her hair is a very old kind of yarn. I think it was from my grandmother's youth. It has the color of beautifully weathered old things. And the natural thing, dandelion, is a piece of something I found in the forest. There are other things I found in the forest. And she's looking into a shell. She's looking into a mirror, but she doesn't see herself. She sees through. I think what is in the shell, the mirror, is blue sky, full moon. Here's Ophelia. Take it away, Cindy.
I think the artwork is poetry too, and it makes sounds.
It makes sense.
Yes. So I actually own a rain stick that Toti made, and it inspired this poem. This is an erasure poem, so that's why it's spaced this way. There were other words in between. Rain stick, hollowed plant, sound, rituals, origin unclear. Thorns push through the stalk, falling objects inside.
Yeah, falling objects inside. So I'm glad she ended up on the cover. This one with a rain stick is one of small deities. That's the way I called the people of this series. And they are small, they are very small, and they hung on a wall. I think when I made those, I was thinking of those little spirits that you have in many cultures. In the Romans, the Latins had them, Ilari. Those little creatures that protect the place. They are protector of the house, the home, the place. They are tiny, but very powerful. So that's another woman probably that's also Black Mountain, also look like metal, and she has a lot of metal around there. The largest leaf is copper, a gown is crocheted copper, and the wild hair is copper too. So a lot of energy in there. And she's mounted on a piece of wood and bark, tiny thing. And the rain stick, what now becomes a rain stick, it's a piece of green wood, and it reminded me of those stakes that they used to impale vampires, but I like vampires, so probably a rain stick is the better solution.
Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, I'll talk about it, and then you read the poem after. This one belongs to the series of a series of creatures that I called wild hares and mud girls, mud boys, but she is Cassandra. And again, Cassandra is the one that moved out of the row and had a soul of her own, and she was what I wanted without knowing. So she was a little bit my favorite. And so because she's Cassandra, what she has in there that she's kind of shielding is her vision, whatever it is that she is seeing. But the poem that Cindy will read doesn't talk about vision, it talks about protecting the flames at all costs. At all cost was very important to me and for Cassandra too. And protecting the flames is also something that strikes me very much. It is an idea that is very important to me. This sense that there are moments in life where you have a potential, whatever that is, love or creation or construction, and you can express it. And there are moments in life, like we know very well right now, where there is no room, you cannot do anything at all. So either you let it die, or you take a very, very, very small flame and you protect it at all cost. And this is what she's doing.
I love that you shared that. We certainly wrote this book before the pandemic.
We did.
But, we're in the situation, protecting the flame at all cost. Anna Heat protects these flames at all cost. Candleman cries, I am the last of my kind, rejected outsider in these woods lost. Hidden in the frost of decayed logs, I stoop to protect these flames at all cost. Generations pass, I am like a ghost, an outsider in a cave of sticks, rejected in these woods, lost. So the next poem, Return from the Grave. Ancestors wove birch branches, slept, persevered in circadian cycles, rested beneath quarter moon, quietly drifted past thin papery bark of hidden spirit midwives after the leaves fell. Skeletons strung seed necklaces for newborns.
Okay, this piece is also from a very old cycle close to the girls on horses. Of course, it responded to the quarter of moon and to the word quietly drifted. So those were, the name of the series was The Unbreakable Dream. And I don't know why I did this joke with myself and what that really meant. I think it was also an unexplainable dream. And the pieces were all like this, girls or women on a barge or on a boat, completely adrift, but very happy. This one is a girl, and it seems like a truck went on her, so maybe she's a ghost of a girl or some essence of a girl, a little cartoonish, but she really is doing really good because she's having this conversation with the moon. And here also there is a lot of metal. She has this fishing net of copper that trapped some drops of crystal green water. And that's all.
Crystal Wind vanishes and finds a map. So this is the mother in the story. She finds herself in an aspen forest. Blue rain begins to fall as Anahit floats to meet her. Welcome, I am Anahit. You have arrived into the map of the ancestors, where bloodlines are drawn as interlaced branches. The goddess explains, the map was carved by a wolf person. You can follow the curves to forecast your life like lines on your palms. Crystal Wind has quite an experience in the cave with the map of the ancestors. So this is just the beginning. So Crystal Wind and Candleman have met. After all these years of waiting, Man of Flame slips away while Crystal Wind is asleep. Is she the one? He combs the hillside stream and ventures into the meadow for nature's edible delights in cosmic colors, cultivates food from starshine for her to eat.
Yeah, I really like that those two words together, cultivated food, much more than making food or cooking food, cultivated. So that's what I responded to. This one is another of Wild Hares. She belongs to the same series of Cassandra, and she has something in common because she also kind of protecting something really precious. So I don't know if she's cultivating food. There is this little pot in there. It could be water, or it could be fire, or it could be a bread rising, or some kind of potion. But it's like for Cassandra, it's something that she needs to keep. And that's all I have to say about it. The name Wild Hair is double spelling because I misspell everything, but this is deliberately double. So wild hares are creatures who live in the wood, and maybe they are fast runners like hares, or they just have this wild imagination. And what else I can say about her? I can say that that's the same Black Mountain bronze like clay. And when I make those sculptures were small, kind of a 8 by 8 by 8 little boxy thing, I really like the contrast, the tactile contrast. So I always do something. Maybe it's the dress or the air that is extremely glossy and silky under the hand. And then the skin and the body is always very rough and very textured. And I really like that, the strong tactile contrast. And I also make them as heavy as possibly feasible because I want that sense of a concentrated, stony presence that is stable and strong. So that's all about her.
So with my poetry, I like to put fragments of things together. And this poem is going to talk about Monday being spaghetti day. And that's actually how I grew up. Monday was spaghetti day. So putting a little bit of myself in here, but this is about my character, that's the mother, Decay. Just when she thought the day had nothing left, Crystal Wind measures spaghetti, hard, sleek. Her hand wraps a smaller amount, smaller volume without father. Every Monday is spaghetti day. No deciding what to cook. The kids like it. Suddenly, Mother finds herself in a pile of branches and decayed trunks where once a tree flourished. As fear enters, Mother holds her breath. She smells wisps of smoke and discovers a soft glow like a halo. Her eyes adjust. Crystal Wind observes brilliance radiating from several votives. Gasps as she notices a figure with 4 arms. She rubs her eyes to make sure she is looking at a candleman. Thinks of her family. Crystal Wind closes her eyes, tries to rest, but can't. As she thrashes about, she pictures Azurite sitting at the table and chairs that belonged to her parents under the light fixture made by her father from a wagon wheel. Azurite helps Moonfox and Dreamstar with homework. The fire crackles. Azurite pushes aside the gingham curtains with a swish to gape at the forest and the layered mountains that form the horizon. Later, it's the stars, a Milky Way display, and Venus near the moon. Didn't Anahit mention Venus? So I thank you for being in our forest today. We'd like to close our presentation with a few more observations. So Toti?
Yeah, I think my observation is just maybe saying something more about how nice and it is to collaborate with you. You're a spectacular collaborator. And it
You
is so
too.
natural and so organic. We don't work with a grand design. There would be nothing wrong, I suppose, having a grand design. But we sort of muddle along, and it's a very nice dance. So I really like the way we came together with this project. I was trying to think back, where did we start? And it's very hard to say because it's too natural. So then we don't remember how it happened. But actually, I did remember that you read a poem that was very striking, that you had just penciled it down. It was fresh of the day at Lyrical Flames, which was a great reading hosted by Lida Harris in Pasadena. And I asked you to send the poem because it was too strong for letting it go. And that's when, for the first time, I put it together with one of my images and where everything started. So I think that's all I want to say, that it works really very easily, very simply, and naturally with you.
Well, Toti remembered further back than I did, because I remember we submitted a couple images with the poems to a literary magazine that got published actually in a blog. But I had forgotten about Lyric Flames. When she mentioned it, I knew that was absolutely right. So I think it's kind of fun. You just never know what's going to be the spark for a whole book to happen in the future. And I also want to thank Maya for making this book so beautiful. When I got just the, first copy in the mail, I was gasping. And, it's not like I hadn't seen the art before or read the poems, but it was just so beautiful. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gorgeous. And that's what I said. And I just do love working with Toti. We are in synchronicity all the time, not just with the book. And it's nice to have that in my life. And just having her artwork, like she said, we didn't write and create art in response to each other. And yet it did feel like an expansion of my story, which isn't fully visualized and written yet anyway. And it's just added. And it was always interesting to see what she picked up on out of the poems. And one of my favorites, though, is how she found a quarter moon, because I specifically mentioned a quarter moon. And every time I see that, I'm still like, oh my goodness, she had found a quarter moon. So I just thank you, Toti, for, expanding the fairy tale and being a part of the fairy tale, and all of you for coming into the forest today with the goddess and the characters.
That was really lovely. Thank you very much. Real
you.
great round of applause to our features. And if you would like to get a book, you can go to Moonrise Press. The links to the blog and to the site for the book are there. It's available right now, I think, on lulu.com because it's my printer, and that's how it came out so nicely. So I can't really take the credit. I just picked the paper and did the layout so that it would flow nicely. And but the artist and the poet, who are really the most amazing creator of this magical book. I got two proposals from Toti at once. The first one was the alphabet of birds, and this one was the second, and I like them both. And I don't know, when I read through the book and I looked at the pictures, it just takes you into some kind of alternative universe, some kind of cosmos that you don't know everything what it is, but it's very alluring and enticing, and you want to know more. You want to go deeper into the forest. You want to see more of these people, the wolf people and the moon goddess. And the only difference is from what I first read it is that all the way through, Cindy, you read Anahit.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Anahita. Anahita.
But Anahit is actually an Armenian name.
Yeah?
Yeah, Anahit Armenian.
I can
Yeah.
address
I
that.
thought it was Anahita, so you pronounce A at the end. So it's
She-
Anahita because all Polish names end with A. So anything that has an A, you have to pronounce it. That's how I felt.
Well, she is a Persian goddess. She really is a
Ah.
goddess. I didn't invent her. The other characters I invented. And my friend, who's Armenian, pronounced it that way. And I knew, she knows this goddess, grew up with this. And so I am honoring the tradition. But I
All right.
pronounced it with the A for a long time. But when I found out this is really how to say her name, I wanted to honor that.
Oh, okay, very good. So to me, it was like my biggest surprise in the whole reading. Otherwise, I just loved how it's just like a parallel universe. It's really because the artwork is connected to the poems, but it's not in the illustration. And the poems, it's just kind of like a dialogue creatively that flows together so beautifully. So is anybody else like to have a comment about it? Let me see if I can unmute everybody. If there's a way of unmuting everybody, I don't know.
Well, they can unmute.
Or they can
want to comment.
If they would like, if you'd like, somebody would like to comment, it will be a good time. And after that, we'll move to, I think, Isabella with Jackie had a joint read project to read something together. So go there. But also, I think it'll be a good time to put everybody in a gallery view and take a couple more pictures. If anybody can take a picture of all our in attendance, would be lovely. My computer is malfunctioning. I can't go to.
You need to do gallery view.
I have a question. Well, about
Okay.
the
She
aspen,
has a question.
wondering about the aspen trees, because you don't see them much here, and I lived in a place where there are a lot of aspen trees, and they only grow over 8,000 feet. And I wondered if there was a place that had a lot of trees like that.
Well, I lived in Denver before I moved here.
Oh.
So the aspen trees are magical to me. Estes Park was my favorite place. And a few years ago, my niece got married there. So I got to revisit my favorite place. So things like that show up in your writing, right? It was fall, the wind was going through the leaves and they're, dang, twinkling, and they needed to be in the story.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Aspen, Colorado, so
Wonderful.
Okay, very nice. All
Tony,
right. So
Tony and Cindy, one thing, I thought it was amazing to see to hear the poetry and to see the art, and you can actually feel the wood and the metal and the trees. It was really strange, but it worked so well. It really did.
Thank you.
Very compelling work, beautifully done.
yeah, can we get off the shared screen right now, Cindy? Can you turn
Yes.
off this? Yeah, because I will be reading. Oh, okay, there you are. Very nice. Oh, there's Jackie. We may have more comments later at the end, but like right now, I'd like to move on with our reading. So, Jackie, you had a project together with Casabella. I can find Casabella on my list.
Yeah, but Catabella is having some trouble with the internet. She says that she's not able to log on, so she left. But I can read something from this California Quarterly. I was so honored to be included in this book, and so honored that you published my poem. So is it okay if I read the poem?
Absolutely.
Since Catabella is not here.
And
the
show the
poem
cover.
is called, yes, that's
she's
issue
in the
number
Christmas edition.
46 of the California Quarterly.
Number 4.
I have a lot of respect for your publication. Okay, and my poem is called Recipe for Goodbye. There is no never-ending feast. All good things must come to an end, Chinese saying. And the poem is called Recipe for Goodbye. I know you've grown cozy in the web we have weaved. It's time to cut the threads. Rejoice in selfhood. Let's not mourn, but pirouette in the wind. Catch raining petals with outstretched hands. Do not talk of tears, but dewdrops on pansies. We will no longer call each other love, but soar in our own skies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very lovely.
Yeah, I wish Catabella was able to stay, but she's not.
I just read your poem today downstairs in the book.
In the book, the one that I just read? Okay, what a coincidence.
Not that much.
Thank you.
No, Maya.
And since you're speaking now, could you read next? Because you're already on the camera. Yeah? Okay, so the next reader will be Ed Rosenthal.
So for a long time, this will be one of my poems, will be the explanation. I was, you'd call it publishing, having poems regularly in the San Fernando Valley Sierra Club newsletter. And I had so much trouble myself. They would produce a nice copy of my poem, but I wasn't able to duplicate it because I'm so bad at social media. So I would either get lucky or not. And sometimes they came out beautifully when I tried to share them with friends on my whatever Poet Broker send out list. And other times they just, I couldn't make it at all. So I found this poem, which listed under black and white, meaning by the time I got done with it, it ended up at some black and white picture on their website, which was good enough for me because at least I got to transmit it. So this was in 2016. So now I hope my writing has improved, and I edited it and I changed its name. So it was called Mariposa in 2016. And now I changed it to I already like that in 2016. And here's the new version, Mariposa. They watched us hikers past the stones of the old ranch house. At the field of amber grass, the box-faced cat hides off trail in a notch. A mile above his grove of walnut spears and lilac, her wine-painted eyes on thin limbs float a lonely counterpoint to the silver twigs of the forest floor. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so very much. All right, I unmuted Cynthia Anderson. I'm not sure if Cynthia is ready to read. Cynthia, can you read something right now? Because
Yeah,
you are on.
okay, yeah, I can read something. I actually brought a forest poem. I grew up in the forest in Connecticut, so a whole different environment from where I live now, which is the desert where I live now. So this is about a Peliated woodpecker, which is a very beautiful, large woodpecker, almost the size of a crow. And seeing one of these birds was like a visit from a bird god or something. So this is a Peliated woodpecker. He would come to the clearing behind the house, an opening between woods and swamp, thick with dead leaves and downed trunks. From a back window, I heard him drum, beak pounding a rhythm old as conifers, carpenter ants. I didn't get any closer, didn't try. Sightings were rare in the 60s, everywhere the snarl of chainsaws. He was the most exotic bird I knew, red-crested, crow-bodied, ignoring seed at a feeder, though he did sneak suet from wire mesh nailed to a pine. He would vanish into the stand, still wild enough to hide him, and I would watch him go, hungry for the next glimpse of a life I couldn't follow. That's it.
I love this. I love birds. And if, for those of you
I have
who make
read
your
that. Where did I read that? Where was that published somewhere recently, Cynthia?
Sheila Nagig.
Oh.
I know I read it. It's a wonderful poem.
Thank you.
Beautiful poem.
Yeah, it's a number, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, we have all these birds right now, very
The
loud.
birds are trying
They're
to come into
competing with the
open
poets. They
reading.
want to come and read. So I unmuted right now Katrina Canyon. Katrina, can you do your reading right now?
Yes.
You raised the hand. Okay, so welcome back, our village poet, original poet laureate number 2. Yeah, and now away from us, but thanks to Zoom, can join us, which is fantastic. All right, Katrina, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. This one is called Skill. Her stained hands wear beet juice like blood as her dark fingers glide the thin silver steel blade around one cardinal globe after another. It is difficult to distinguish the difference between skin and flesh, but she does it adeptly. I ask, how can you do that so easily? She responds, I just do. Husks break free and blotch the butcher block crimson. I ask, doesn't it scare you to use something so big? No, she responds. Her large butcher knife hovers and dances over the submissive orb. As it turns, I ask, what's a period? She nicks her finger, winces, drops the beat, and grabs a towel. I tell her, you should use a peeler. She says, it's a sorry tool that blames its master. I reply, I think you got that backwards. She slams the knife on the board, and with a quick flash of turning tide, she looks me in the eye and says, girl, you know what I mean. I look down quickly, pick up the beat, and dye my fingertips red. Thank you very much.
All right. Very interesting. Now we have Beverly Collins with a hand raised. So Beverly, let me check if you're unmuted. Ask to unmute. Oh, okay. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my poem that's about the moon, actually. It's called Sky Stare. A still motion view of pillowy haze, edges awaken from the deep of darkness. The moon is a lantern that dreams it will one day become the sun, a shield that waves music and light into eternity while it appears to be voiceless. The moon floats on. It's on watch and always listening. Its reach grabs a spot to call home on every coast. Its kindly chase is welcomed and yearned for like all true untouchables that have ever existed. Thank you.
Thank you very
Wonderful
much.
reading today, ladies. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's great to have so many people. We reached 30, so now the next person who raised hand is Ambika. Ambika, can you unmute yourself and read your poem for us?
Yes. Okay. What a lovely respite for me to be here today. It's been so crazy grading papers and making sense of nonsense. So I'm going to read a very old poem from 2010. So I don't know what brought it, but I'm going to share this today. And I call it Promise of Small Things. Such is the courage of small things that night arriving, they wander, make me that orb quietly flashing through endless night that aches for the orchid of all desires. A lone stalk is but a precious thing, pink, magenta with golden tongue, told to speak only of what matters. So silence feeds in dark wind for years that listen are with the poets long lost, for words that were not heeded. So we have a world fallen below hemlines, worn out padded shoes, cobwebs bleeding dry on thorns. There where dreams are ground to dust, where virtue aches to resurrect herself. Make me that orb quietly kissing dews on your eyes to wake you, so you can wake another, so all are kissed into awakening. Leave then the broken columns of old spacesuits. Let memories be returned to source. Let's instead permeate the impermeable skin of things until quantum particles in you excite you into fullness of ecstatic light that cannot help awakening even the gods. A little thing is but a mighty thing, on whose tongue hand of grandma writes the singular letter of wisdom, the courage to endure travails of love, to find that which is the only brimming, the measure of all things that feeds rose of orchid, tongue of gold, let there be. Such songs ache in my bones. My fingers carve you from space, commit to infinity, the courage of small things, the promise.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very
That
nice.
was amazing.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So now I would like to call Judith. Do I have Judith? No, I have Mari open. Mari Werner. Can you read something right now? And
Sure.
whoever else wants to read, click on this icon for hand because I can see those on the screen, and so then I can see the next person. So Mari Werner is the next. After that, Joe DiCenzo, and then Judith Terzi.
Okay, I have a few short poems I'd like to read. I wasn't really aiming for any particular form, so maybe you could call them short formless. And they have titles. So here's the first one. Meditation, spending time in timelessness. How do you spend what isn't? Ignorance. Once you know something, it is impossible to unknow it, making ignorance irreplaceable. Calendars in the time of COVID. It always seems like tomorrow should be Sunday. Usually it isn't. Efficiency. In a hurry to get out of the house, I learned that it is impossible to brush my teeth and change my shoes at the same time. Thank you.
That's true. You trip over your toothbrush, that's for sure. Oh, wow. Okay, we have Joe DiCenzo now.
Thank you. Hi, I unmuted myself, right? A apart
Yes,
from
good.
all of you, my friends, who seem to be keeping yourselves busy and productive, most of my conversations with friends are, what are you up to? Well, nothing. But it sort of inspired this poem. I guess this is where it came from. I titled it, The Value of Nothing. Vacant cares, deserted doubts, benign suspicion, nothing confines our tendrils from coiling. A quiet night when nothing interrupts the sound of your breath in my ear. The absent fabric lets nothing prevent the binding contact of our skin. A perfect time to elevate life, for nothing stands in our way. Nothing between us, nothing to regret, nothing to hold back, an insoluble oath with nothing left to say. Sometimes nothing can be everything, and nothing you do can ever change my mind.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. I wanted to ask Judith Terzi. Judith, could you read for us right now? And next person, please raise your hand or click on the icon for hand, and then I can see who
Okay.
is. Okay, so let's see, Judith.
Okay, Maya. I wasn't planning on reading, but let me
All right.
see. Here we go. I have something. Okay. Spirit. This is a pantoum. Spirit for Danielle. She had to move him to a home away from home. A month went by, then lockdown came. Alone in his room, only dreams could gallivant. The staff, they love his banter, his gentleness, humanity. 2 months went by. Lockdown eased. She visits now. She sits outside between the ferns and birds of paradise. The staff, they love his jokes. He sits inside, behind tall glass in the living room. She sits outside amidst the potted palms and ferns. They're talking on a sill. How she loves his calm, his hair, that telltale grin behind the window pane. He tells her to be careful not to trip, to lock the doors at night. They're talking on their cells. He's looking good, though illness weakens him. Once so robust, he tells her to lock the doors, to not forget to use her Lancome creams. They FaceTime every day. He's looking good. He's happy in the place, feels safer than before, reminds her to smear her Lancome creams. Soon she'll visit face to face in the patio, 6 feet apart. He's happy in the place, feels safe. He'll see her luminescent skin. She'll see his eyes, face to face between the ferns and birds of paradise. Like vulnerable trees, their roots will intertwine. No touch this time. He'll see her luminescence. She'll see his eyes in this home away from home. Like vulnerable trees, their roots will intertwine. Together once more, dream unconfined.
Wow.
Wow.
Judith really can do a pantun like nobody else. It's amazing. Now
It
I
sounds
have
so natural.
yes, really, it just flows so beautifully. I have
Thank you.
Catabella back, Catabella
Oh,
Wilson
wonderful.
and Jackie. So we can do Catabella and Jackie together right now. And after that, I have who raised the hand? Somebody was unmuted.
Marcy.
Dorothy, yes. And after Dorothy, we'll have Judy Barat, I think. Okay, so Casabella and Jackie, it's your turn.
Okay, I have to find this.
Sorry that happened. Our internet went completely away and Rick restarted the modem. Now it's working again. So sorry.
Very
Cindy
good.
and Toti.
Good
We'll
to see
get
you.
that. Thank you. Okay. Jackie and I thought that since Cindy and Toti were collaborating, that we would share a collaboration. So these are Charita little stories, which we thought would be perfect. And Rick will collaborate with us too. So Jackie and I will read these. They're very short, 6 lines each. And we'll go through each one twice so you can really concentrate on the words. So I start and Jackie answers. Memory Lane.
The name of my old street.
Cul-de-sac, thanks to you. Closed for repairs. Memory Lane.
The name of my old street.
A cul-de-sac, thanks to you. Closed for repairs. These are all in the most recent Charita journal. Time of Wonder is the name. My key collection.
To open every safe.
Buried treasure. Each one unlocks the secrets of a different world. My key collection.
To open every safe.
Buried treasure. Each one unlocks the secrets of a different world. Broken eggs.
Bought at a discount.
My elegant spilt milk souffle. Broken eggs.
Bought at a discount.
My elegant spilt milk souffle. In these solitary days.
The eyes of strangers.
I feel them on me as I tap from the inside of this egg. In these solitary days.
The eyes of strangers.
I feel them on me as I tap from the inside of this egg.
Yeah, it was always really wonderful to collaborate with Casabella, as always.
Yeah,
They're
it was
fun.
a fun reading, going back and forth, and it went pretty well. All right, so thank you very much, and now we'll move on to Dorothy Skiles, and after Dorothy, we'll have Judy Barat.
Okay. Let's see.
Tell her to unmute. Unmute, Dorothy.
Okay, I guess let me go maybe to a
Hello?
participant and say. Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, 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 yes.
Green-breasted sparrow. Daily walk, a familiar sight. Green-breasted sparrow atop street sign, bobbing his head, staring down at me. I nod. He waits until I cross the street before he goes about his business. These days, we look out for each other. And this is Ancient Oak. On the parkway in front of our house, the old oak stands proud, season after season these 31 years. In autumn, she's a giver of acorns to squirrels and a home to crows. Why, you perked up since the arborist trimmed dead branches from your thick but burdened limbs. Now I can see the San Gabriel change hue from dawn till dusk. What secrets you must keep in the dark hours of the night as hungry coyotes howl, winds gust through the canyons. I pray you'll be standing proud for another 100 years. In the quiet moment, just before the sun sets, I hug your trunk when no one's looking.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next reader is Judy Barrett. Judy, it's all yours.
Thank you. This is called After the Crash. I dreamed I hit a wall and all my memories and treasures spilled out and lay scattered in the street, numerous and disheveled as unbound pages of Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, and there they remained. I stood helpless to collect them all and became abruptly aware I had carried this massive mayhem for so long I was bound to crash. What must be kept? What must be discarded? I tiptoed among the massive mental magma and found humor. That I kept, for lack of it would diminish the value of the love, empathy, and forgiveness I unearthed. There lay so many instances of sadness, pain, and intolerance. Those I left for the wind or the trash collectors. I tucked away a modicum of sadness and pain as a reminder that life is not always perfect. Much lighter, I proceeded on my way. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we have a couple friends of Cindy and Toti who are not regulars. Martha Pond, who is unmuted. Maybe Martha is a poet. Cindy, could you out some of your friends here who might be poets and would like to read for us? It would be always nice to have a guest from, other group.
Actually, Mart and Heather Lowe are fabulous artists. Maybe they've written something I don't know about. And Nan is a friend of mine too, appreciates art and poetry. So
Annette? How about Annette?
I love poetry, but I don't have anything prepared. But I used to run a small press many years ago, for many, many years in LA.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Next
Okay,
time.
how about next time? Okay.
Okay.
How about
Cindy?
Yes. Wait, Mart has something.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I mean, I really enjoyed this amazing reading. But I know a lot of I don't write poetry, but I love to memorize poetry, but in French. So
go for it.
We had Russian earlier.
I don't think
Please recite something.
Yeah, because I know Rimbaud and Victor Hugo and all those people, but I think that I will pass. But thank you so much. It was very, very inspiring, and yeah, I really enjoy being here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for
all right, very nice. Okay, so who else? Polly Dutton. Polly, do you have something to read for us? Oh, let's just unmute Polly so she can talk. Okay, is Polly there? Can hear anything? How about Erica?
Okay.
There you are.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I'd like to read something from Annie Lamott today.
All right.
This has been the great teaching for me during COVID college. that so much has been taken away from us, yet so much not only still works, but has the capacity to blow us away with its loveliness, with how deeply touching it can all be. So in Lent and Passover and COVID, we stop. In the dark night of the soul, we get stopped in our tracks. We may fall into an abyss that we have been trying to outrun since we were little children. I've written entire books about how destructive this is. The American way of staying one step ahead of having to stop. Just trick out the abyss so it's a little bit nicer. We used to be able to head to IKEA for a more festive throw rug, although during quarantine, we learned to order things that would arrive overnight. And paradoxically, as we've had to stop, we've seized upon the immediacy and preciousness of our short time here. We gave and received love in new ways. On the living event calendars of Zoom gatherings or making the universal sign of hugging someone in masks 6 feet away. My Sunday school kids know that Bavarian pretzels began as an Easter present to children from monks at the local monastery who looped and crossed the pretzel dough to resemble a hug. The preciousness of our days here, yes. I binged on TV for most of a year, which is maybe not the ramdassiest thing to be doing, not here. And if you don't tell anyone, I'll share that I've been watching every episode of Selling Sunset and Below Deck. And thank you, Jesus. I still have 2 seasons of Below Deck Med to see me through. But still, I loved everyone the best I could every day. I went for a walk, rain or shine, well, drizzle or shine. I practice radical self-care. I give thanks. I practice my prone yoga, which I developed in my early 20s, which simply involved lying down a lot, maintaining the prone. I live by a story I've told dozens of times about a day when my best friend Pammy was dying. We went shopping, she in a wig and a wheelchair. I was going out that night with the latest fixer-upper boyfriend, read Dusk, Night, Dawn, to hear about the literal miracle of finally finding a healthy, brilliant, kind man who I married 3 days after I started getting Medicare. I was trying on a tighter, shorter dress than I was used to and said to her, "Do you think this makes my hips look big?" And she said to me quietly, "Annie, you don't have that kind of time." So where do we start? Paradoxically, we stop by stopping, and we done get stopped good by COVID, right? So we now notice how entirely we are still here now. When we do not remember how to proceed, we go left foot, left foot, breathe. We do the sacraments of ploppage and putter. We take care of the poor. We notice the first daffodils in bloom. Such sweet sight gags with those huge snozzes. We breathe and begin to shake off some of the grim shit life has been throwing at us. We push back our sleeves, look up and around, and begin anew. Deal, you in? I'm sorry I'm got this picture on, this wonderful picture taken by Katha Bella so long ago. I don't look like that right now. I especially look terrible right now, and that's why I've got this picture up. I don't want you to see. I had a little something happen, and it's anyway. I'm hoping to recover and look a little better later.
Great.
Very good. Okay, we're looking forward to you. Now, Erica Wilk. Erica, it's your turn.
Okay. I will read you a poem that's once been in a chapbook, and I now was just published my little book called Small Potatoes. And the title of this poem is I Say to the Woods. Let me enter. I see a clearing where I can rest. Give me shelter for a night or two. Restore my soul. Accept me as I am. My bones and flesh are yours. The earth welcome. The ground is soft with moss. Thick roots my pillow. Shadows cover me. I dream of browns, greens, and yellows, of deer and mushrooms, the breeze that wafts through tender grasses, a ladybug. The light is bright now, stillness baffling until I hear the trumpets. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's almost 6 o'clock, so we're pretty close to the end. And I would like to read a poem that I recently wrote. I wrote 2 positive poems to do for a new version of my Renewed Red book, which is all stories from the war, all the sufferings of the civilians. But I thought it's nice to end on some more uplifting notes. So I wrote 1 poem about soap bubbles and 1 poem about flying kites. You all know about my passion for kites, so I will not bore you with that because I could go on forever. But so let's listen about to a poem about soap bubbles. The sky is the color of soap bubbles that Grandpa makes on the porch of old wooden house in a village. The house with a peaked roof and 3 panel shutters on each window, closed only for winter storms and departures, almost never. The straws are tricky to make, of golden rye cut between joints, with a tip quartered and bent into a miniature cross of Malta. We hold our straws gingerly in a solemn ritual of dipping them in a dish of lukewarm water with a piece of brown soap, then lifting the tips up and exhaling air slowly, carefully, until the bubble, like a soul of a plum or an apple, detaches, becomes spherical, and floats away. Iridescent, translucent, oscillating from pink to blue to gold to periwinkle. Yes, the sky before sunset is the color of soap bubbles. I make a soapy sphere and watch it upward progress on a meandering path through warm summer sky until it bursts in a sudden gust of wind. The pang of disappointment is real. It melts away only when another bubble is ready to ascend on its random, weightless pathway. We count them one by one, keeping the score. In times of trouble, make soap bubbles and watch them float on air currents, away, into the unknown, the size of a plum or an apple, iridescent, translucent, oscillating from pink to blue to gold to periwinkle. They float away, specks of joy up in the sky, here just for a moment, until they disappear in ever more distant, misty evening sky.
Nice.
So ethereal.
Very nice.
Colorful.
So now we're floating away with soap bubbles, and it will be that good time to end the reading. And thank one more time our beautiful, beautiful featured poets.
Yes.
Did I say it right? Cindy Rinne and Toti O'Brien, and not the other way around. Wonderful book. It's a great gift. And thank you so very much to everybody who attended, to everybody who listened, to everybody who read, everybody who shared. It's been a beautiful, beautiful afternoon with sunlight and birdsong in the garden and beautiful poetry to inspire and enrich our souls. And we'll meet again next month with James Coates, whose book will be presented here. He's new to the group, so it's going to be something else. All right, so welcome and thank you very much. And
thank you all.
What day?
Good
and
evening.
good night,
Thank
everybody.
Beautiful
Thank you.
reading.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Next month.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.